All right, we live. What's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube?
All right, you guys are tuned in to the Power of Ownership podcast. And this is your host, Brandon B. Dixon. I'm with special guest star of mine, Stephen Contreras. I'll let him introduce. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm Stephen Contreras, geologist and Freemason. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Right. So this is like my brother from another mother, same grandmother, but different, different mother. So
we're both thinkers, right?
We're both free thinkers, both affiliated with the Grand Lodge of Texas. But keep this in mind, our opinions are our alone and not the opinions of our lodges or the Grand Lodge of Texas. So just keep that in mind as we go. But again, for people that's first tuning in, my name is Brandon B. Dixon. I'm a writer, published author, mortgage broker, also a sales trainer and entrepreneur. Been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years. And the premise of the show is the power of ownership. It started out as ownership of businesses. And if you look at my social, I have a pretty big following on Instagram and Facebook. So it started off as ownership of businesses, and it since then evolved the ownership of the mind, body, and the soul, because that all ties together. One of the things I wanted to talk about today, since we both have the common thread as far as Freemasonry, is I want to talk about like Masonic misconceptions.
And there's a lot of it out there.
Right. There's a lot of misconceptions, and it kind of scares a lot of people from going, and because we're painted as evil people or
devil worshippers,
all this other stuff.
Crazy people.
I'll let you go ahead and chime on that, and I'll kind of ring in after you. So let's go ahead and open the floor up. What do you think about, explain first of all, for those who don't know, let's bring it all the way down to the elementary. For those who don't know, what is Freemasonry? And then let's talk about some of the common misconceptions.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. Freemasonry, to me, is the oldest fraternity in the world. It goes back since a long time, 1700s. A lot of the founding fathers of this country, a lot of great men, Mozart, Voltaire, George Washington, even Gerald Ford was the last president to be a Freemason. To me, it's the best fraternity in the world. And I've never had anyone in my family be a Freemason. I just kind of stumbled upon it in my journey for ownership, ownership of myself.
Correct.
And all directions kind of led to the Freemasons. And I've never looked back. It's the best decision I've ever made.
Right.
And what we do is we help the communities all around the world and different cities, try to help make good men better. We give scholarships, we help the needy. We do a lot of really, really good things.
Right. So no, as they say, sacrificing goats and weird sex.
No goats.
No weird sex cults and stuff like that.
Not like we're just good men trying to make a better mark in society,
right.
I guess.
What are some of the misconceptions that you see out there, and you kind of tackle some of those as well?
Yeah, a lot of the misconceptions I think is just like the false propaganda that you see, especially on the internet nowadays. Like, it's all clickbait, right? Like, Freemasonry, and then there's a big picture of the goat's head or something like that, or the 5-pointed star and something like that. Lots of just fake misconceptions when people click on the links, or they won't even click on the links, right? They're afraid to click on them because it's like not true. It's a lot of those kind of misperceptions. The perception of, we're these evil people trying to rule the world,
Right.
What do you think some of the misconceptions?
Well, let's step back for a second. I want to kind of define my definition of masonry, and then I want to kind of get into the misconceptions as well to kind of take our time on it. My definition of masons is just like a mason, a stone builder is. It's a builder, it's a creator. So we're creating this temple, which is the body or the actual being.
The self, right? The
self that's not made with hands. So, and we're building a world. We're building our own universe.
Trying to create it.
Trying to create it. So, masonry, we're supposed to be that beacon of light in our community that actually is forward thinking and is for the progression of humankind. That's kind of what my perception of it, and that's kind of what I gather. Secondly, the misconception is like this. Most of the stuff that you see online is pure garbage.
Yeah, 100% garbage.
Garbage.
It's really laughable.
Right. It's I'm not saying this again. Most people, don't trust them. Come see for yourself. If come to the lives, go through the lives. I think my perception is one of two things. It's either people that couldn't get into the lives, they have a checkered past, and they couldn't get in, so they have to shoot propaganda against. You have to have an enemy some type of way.
Yeah, like a jealousy kind of
thing. Jealousy, again, one of the things I always talk about is that if you can't run fast, you do 1, 2, you could train and make yourself run faster, or you could try to trip up your competition. Right. So Masons, you'll see a lot of Masons are that 1% or that 5% that's top performers, because we know how to build, we know how to create our reality.
Yeah,
so people are jealous of that. So people don't want to actually put the effort forward. So they gotta, you guys get your power from the devil. No, we just discipline.
Yeah. We look for what the power actually is.
Right.
Yeah.
So which is yourself. So that's the thing. Or they're going based on something somebody else said.
Hearsay,
right? It's a hearsay. It's a third, fourth.
Yeah.
Somebody else, and they're just following along, jumping on the bandwagon. Yeah. So one of two things. So the misconceptions is that, first of all, if you research some of those misconceptions, most of those people have never been in a lodge before.
Yeah,
they're not Masons, or they're called what we call clandestine. Mm-hmm. And for people that don't know, this a little bit of education is that if you don't have a lodge that's sanctioned by the United Grand Lodge of England, a lot of people, just like anything else, we can't. There's no trademark on Christian. There's no trademark on Muslim. So in the United States, you could pop up and say whatever you want to say. So there's lodges that pop up and say that they're Masons, and they're not.
Yeah, it's like the
right.
pretenders, right?
Right.
Pretending lodges.
So it's what we call clandestine or bogus or spurious lodges. So there's a lot of them out there. So people that are curious about Masonry and want to know the difference, again, go to the Grand Lodge of Texas if you're in Texas, or if you're in different states. If you're listening abroad, look at the United Grand Lodge of England, and just go to see who's the affiliates in that particular in your particular jurisdiction.
Your area, right?
In your area. There's lodges that pop up all over the place, and most of them, I would say, in Houston especially, there's a ton of them.
Yeah.
And what happens is that's a lot of people's misconception of Masonry. And that's why you don't see, a lot of changes. People might know a Mason, and the guy's still doing the same thing he's been doing, before he was into it. That's what you get. That's the results. You judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. So
the work you want to put in is what you get out.
Right. So that's kind of the misconception. So most of them don't know what they're talking about. That's online, and most of people, the conspiracy theorists,
and that's all it is conspiracy, right?
They've never been in a lodge.
They're
just
ignorant. They don't know, right?
Right.
They haven't put the work in, like you said. Right. They haven't built their tree.
Right. My thing is, if you're genuinely interested, if you're curious, come to a lodge. If you're in the Houston area, come to my lodge. You're invited. You come have dinner with us. We meet the first, second, and fourth Thursdays. Contact me. It's 832-775-8357 if you're interested. What we're about and what we are leaders. We are creators. We are building that temple not made with hands, which is yourself, and then in turn you will do great things in your community, and in turn you will have your landmarks on the earth, not necessarily a physical building, but your presence will be felt for generations and generations to come.
And that's the goal, right?
That's the goal.
How can we help mankind in a way, try to find themselves?
Right. So the misconception are with the bad guys, that's false. Most of the guys they're pretty much nerdy guys.
Nerdy guys.
Nerdy guys.
Yeah, I look at rocks all day. Right. You rock on.
Right. You never get. What do you do professionally? You're a geologist. What does your job entail?
Well, basically, I look at rocks coming back from the oil rig, processing, analyzing them, and seeing where the good parts are to drill under the earth.
Right.
I love it. You get to travel the world, look at rocks. Couldn't be better.
Gotcha. And how did you get into geology?
Well, it started back in high school. I always thought I wanted to be in business, and I still love business. Don't get me wrong. Everything's a business, right?
Right.
Essentially, even building yourself is a business, power of ownership, right? And I told myself, man, I don't want to sit in the office all day.
Right.
Okay, that's not me. I have to be outside. I have to be experiencing stuff. I'm like, what profession can I do that?
Right.
And all I could find was geology. And I was like, I like Earth, I like
Right.
nature, that sounds like my cup of tea.
Right.
So about a year and a half into school, I switched from business to geology and never looked back.
Gotcha. And how, just to tie the two together, how does masonry help you in your vocational sense? How does it help you?
It's changed my life. Like
Right.
Freemasonry, I'll never look back. It's the best decision I've ever made.
Right.
Like it helps me focus on work. It gives me a clear path of what I need to do
Gotcha.
and how I can help my company that I work for and like everything around me, trying to get everything running smoothly. Per se.
Right.
You know that because we're all working together, right? That's
Right.
the goal.
That's the unit. Yeah, as the unit, this is the thing. Not only making your thoughts and your ambitions come into fruition, but you have that hive like mind to help you bring those things into fruition. We could go all day about
we really could.
I just wanted kind of a basic, a basic little introduction, the basic disclaimer that, hey, what you see online is basically garbage. If you really want to find out the real deal, contact me. If you're in the Houston area, even if you're not in the Houston area, I could point you towards something that's legit. And if you're really, and the thing is, you got to ask yourself, what do you want to do? Do you want to be the creator, or do you want to be the creation? Because you're gonna be one of the two.
Yeah, there's no other option.
There's no other option. So you're gonna build up somebody's dream. If you're punching in 9 to 5, that's somebody else's creation that you're bringing into life. So do you want to create your own, or do you want to be somebody else's creation? So if you want to lead and be the creator, I would think this is the best fraternity. I would know this is the best fraternity in the world. That's why I joined. That's why I joined. If you look at all the past leaders, the ones he mentioned, along with Dr. Martin Luther King, Shaq. I mean, there's so many, Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong. I mean, so on and so forth. There's all the leaders that you see.
Actually, I don't think Neil was one. Was he? It was Buzz.
It's Buzz for sure. Yeah, I mean, the leaders that you see are part of the fraternity, and if you want to, get into the fraternity and lead, this is, contact me.
We make good men better. That's the goal.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you, I've asked members of my lodge before, but I've never asked anybody. You're outside of my lodge. Why do you think the numbers are down as far as people? And again, we don't recruit. This is not a recruit. If you want information, contact me. We don't recruit. Why do you think the numbers are down, and why do you think that people are scared?
And I think
besides the misconception.
Yeah. So number one is the misconception.
Right. Besides that,
and then it's also that my generation, the millennials, right? They just don't. They don't know. No one's ever taught them where to look. Right.
That's what I'm
and I think it's so important because the millennials, like, they want to learn, right? And they're looking, and then they get turned off by all the false propaganda machines and things like that. Right. And then they just stop looking, and then they become lost, in a sense.
Gotcha.
And they just never know where to look. And I think that's a big part of it is like we haven't done a good enough job to be able to trickle it down to the younger crowds. A lot of it's like you see like older men or anything like things like that.
Well, this is one of the things I wanted to do. There's other podcasts out there. Salute to the Roundtable, Masonic Roundtable podcast. There's there's 12 Fellowcraft as well. There's a couple other podcasts that's out there, but that's if you're searching for masonry. My podcast, we're going to actually talk about the practicing masonry. If you know it or if you don't know it, that's what we're doing as far as ownership. And it's not sanctioned by the Freemasons, but the actual host and our real guest that I got lined up with coming on will be Freemasons. So,
and they're great brothers too.
So I kind of wanted to do this to kind of shed light, lack of pun intended, on our situation. Like, hey, we're regular guys in the community. This is not some reptilians or something like that.
No conspiracy.
Right, this is no conspiracy. These regular guys that work regular jobs, that's trying to better
everything.
And so just bringing this digitally, so this to be that main point of contact, the main point of reference. So that's what I want to kind of do, to introduce the millennials to the craft.
To the greatness, right?
Right. So, and not, there's a lot of older guys and they're not onto the digital age, the social media age. So that's what I wanted to do, to lead, to kind of bring people in and kind of show people this is what the craft, this is what the fruit bears. This is the fruit that the tree bears.
It is, and it changes so fast too. It's hard to relate, to get the older crowds to come and be digital.
Right. So this kind of what we're doing to kind of bring this into fruition. My take on why the numbers are down, I think, is a shift in society.
Agreed.
I think it's the Uber Eats, it's the Amazon Prime, it's the microwave popcorn mentality.
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification. And just for disclaimer, this is if that's what you're looking for, this is not the place. Freemasonry is not the place. Business is not the place. Life is probably, besides being a consumer and being something that you're just feeding off everybody else creation. If you want to switch to this side, you have to change your mentality.
Change your perception, right?
So nothing in this life is instant.
Yeah. It takes hard work and perseverance and dedication.
Everything's a step process. And the reason why we're under that particular covenant is because we want to experience. Think about it. If I want everything instant, like this, where would the lessons be? Where would the experience be?
The morals, right?
Where would the morals? Where would the shaping of yourself come from? Mm-hmm. We have to go through things.
Yeah, experience it.
Right. I like what Will Smith said on his Instagram post. He said that, life and business and the success period is just like working out.
Yeah.
You train till failure. I mentioned this in a previous podcast. You train till failure. That failure, you stop, but the pain and the suffering, that's the growth.
Yeah.
Your body builds itself up bigger and stronger, so you're able to do not only what you did last time, but even more the next time.
Yeah, and it keeps on going.
It keeps on going and going. Yeah. So nothing is coming to the gym and, all right, I'm going to lift 1,000 pounds like it's nothing. That's not, you could eventually build yourself up to that.
No one's the Hulk, right?
Right. No one's, you got to snap out that fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's a step process. Yeah. So people want things instantly. That's not how think about this. Think about Tom Brady,
The golden boy, right?
Right, the golden. He's one of the top workers. Think about all the stuff that they do. All the training camps, the meetings, the workouts, the practices, all for that one moment of hoisting that Lombardi trophy.
And he's done it 6 times?
6 times. So he does all of this for that one moment. That moment lasts forever. He's etched in history.
Yep. In his story, right?
Right.
Yep.
Not only his story, but
the grand scheme.
The grand scheme of things. That's what it takes. And that's what we lost. Mm-hmm. We have been substituted for that moment that's going to last forever, getting those endorphins to a series of many so-called, I don't want to say victories, there's the so-called gratifications that if you look, it's almost like candy.
Yeah, it is candy. It's an addiction, right?
Right, so you get that quick high and then you go right back down. Mm-hmm. If you look at it, there's no nutritional value whatsoever.
Yep.
Doesn't feed the soul.
Mm-hmm. And then you can't grow because there's nothing to grow.
There's nothing to grow. There's no nutrients.
Yeah, no nutrients.
So same thing. We look for these little. Even I was thinking of this too on the way here. Look at the verbiage. We call quote unquote hot women eye candy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Eye candy.
Yeah.
So instead of and a lot of women strive to be eye candy instead of trying to be soul food. Yeah. I want a woman that's soul food.
Who actually knows what they're talking
about. Right. Well, feed the soul.
Yeah. Help you grow when you can't push yourself.
Right. So that's and look at how things have switched.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like now it's just all just look at me here. It's the me generation. Right. Everything's changing and it's not a good road to go down if you ask me.
Well, I think what's going to happen is, again, leadership is going to have to take place, and you're not going to get. I think it's a utopia to get everybody on the same page. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen. We're going to split off in our community. You're going to have the doers and the creators, And then you're going to have the consumers.
Or the followers, right?
Right, and the consumers are going to just consume.
Eat and delete and
Right.
ruin, right?
And it's just what it is. But this podcast is for people that's kind of on this side. Meaning that you want to own your mind, body, and soul. In turn, I want to own my own path. I want to own my own creation. I want to own my own universe. That's who I'm speaking to now. And if this resonates to you, you know, support, you know, subscribe, like, comment, tell a friend to tell a friend, go on and so on and so forth. But yeah, go ahead before I get to the next segment.
Oh yeah, so with my generation, I'm 28 years old. I'm a millennial, born in 1990. I had a computer in my house for most of my life.
Correct.
And with everything that's going on in society, right? Like, it's hard to, like, we're taught in such a way to be able to, oh, we have to do this, oh, we have to do that, we have to do this, this, and this. And no one ever really just stops and asks, why, right? Why do we have to do these things?
Right.
And it goes back to the patience, right?
Right.
Like, no one's actually sat down and just thought, okay, do I have to be doing these things? Like, what's making me do these things?
Right.
What am I looking for? What am I trying to do? And hopefully, over time, over the next few years, people will be able to wake up from those kinds of things.
That's kind of a good point. I think what happens is the reason why they push to certain, they never took the time to think about what I want to do.
And that's the most important question. Is like, what do I want to do? Like, do I want to click this Facebook like, oh, do I want to watch funny cat videos all day, or should I look down and take the time to read a book, better myself, go exercise?
Well, the one thing I've said before, and I've said this off camera several times, we're comfort addicts. So we're addicted to being comfortable. And with that being said, if you're always comfortable, you'll never grow. Just like if you lay on the couch all day, what kind of progression would you see? The progression is in working out. The progression is in doing that research to actually get your product to put in the market. That's where the actual growth is.
It is.
You know, so if we're just going from we're almost drug addicts in a different sense.
Yeah, that eye candy you're talking about, right?
So it's going from one good feeling to the next. And your whole life is based on how can I feel great at this particular moment. And not knowing the growth, the real moves is in that sacrifice. Just like when we fast. You know, when you fast, when Muslims fast, or when anybody fasts, Buddhists, whatever. That's to reboot your immune system.
To get all the impurities out.
Get the impurities out. In turn, once you fast, now you can absorb the nutrients better when you do eat. So just that denial of yourself, actually, you're taking one step back to take two steps forward. And a lot of people have the misconception that I want to feel good now. And that's quote unquote living my best life.
Oh yeah.
False.
And they don't even understand, right? What we're trying to do is, like, instead of like looking at it as, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this, try and just embrace the moment for what it is. Right. Always embrace the moment.
Right. Well, that's even deeper. that's even deeper. What you're saying is that even the struggle, the quote unquote struggle, is not really a struggle. That you got to learn how to enjoy that.
Enjoy the pain.
Enjoy the pain. That's something even deeper. That's probably for a little bit more advanced class, but that's deep within itself. If you could think about, let's go back to Tom Brady. He's 42?
Yeah.
He enjoys the camaraderie with the competition, the camaraderie. He enjoys the workouts. He enjoys. So you learn that you got to learn to love what you hate in a sense and enjoy the now. And then in turn, you will see that you will
the growth, right?
The growth. I posted a meme the other day on Instagram, and it was about one of my favorite NBA players is Kobe Bryant.
Oh yeah, the Mamba, right?
Right, the Black Mamba. And it was talking. Dwayne Wade was talking about him. He's like in the All-Star game. You know, they don't play any defense in All-Star.
Yeah.
He broke his nose. And he was like, he called him a couple of days later. He's like, man, Kobe, I apologize. You know, I didn't mean to do it. He's like, man, I love it. Don't worry about it. I love it.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, I'll get you back. Yeah, no, he said, I'll see you in a couple of days. Because they was on the schedule. Miami was on LA's schedule. Like, I'll see you in a couple of days. Yeah. So even when his nose broke, he embraced that pain and alchemized that and turned it into creation and competition and going to and making his goals come into
Yeah,
fruition.
controlling his emotions.
Right,
He
right.
can't act like, oh, I don't like. I don't,
Right. Instead of self-destruction,
Yeah.
you know, using your emotions to outweigh your greater judgment, he learned to alchemize that emotion into bringing what he wants into fruition.
The controlling,
The controlling.
of self, right?
That's again, that's deep. That's a whole different class. But those who are advanced, who are listening to this or watching this, that's another thing we need to learn. Alchemize the stuff that you hate. I love research. I love writing. So
Me too.
again,
I love writing.
right. So it's I already learned to love what I hate. Also, this side note. Also, that's kind of what my book is about. You know, sales, the nucleus of any profession. Go ahead and pick that up. That's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, so on and so forth. But that's kind of what I'm talking about in my book. You know, you got to kind of learn, reconfigure your brain. Stuff that's counterintuitive, you got to make intuitive.
Put the pieces back together.
Right. So, this segue into the next subject, which is this is kind of a good segue. At 5.
Yeah, hit me with it.
Right. I think, and you know, just to kind of bring all this full circle, I think that there is not really a conspiracy, but I think there are elements of social engineering.
Yeah, maybe to an extent.
Right. And I think certain people and certain things are planted in our subconscious and our conscious in order to think the opposite of what we've been doing. So most people that's out there, they're trying to figure out why am I like this? Why am I comfort addict? Why I can't get things going? Why stuff never works out for me?
How do I wake up to start thinking for
Right.
myself?
The thing is, you're kind of not really a victim, but you're a product of social engineering.
Of society, right?
Of the social, and it's not just random.
Right.
There are major hitters and major companies that has placed you in a position of consumerism.
And things like that is kind of relates to like Plato's cave, right? Like if you are in a cave and all you see are the shadows of figures,
Right.
then you wouldn't know any better, right?
Correct.
So
Right, same thing with us. I mean, as a society, we are taught to be sheep, not to think, hey, we actually live in a vicarious experience. Everything we do is secondhand. So we don't actually vote. We elect people to vote for us.
right?
We don't actually grow our food or kill our food. We actually hire people to do that.
Yeah, consume it, right?
We actually don't live life. We actually watch people on TV and social media living their life.
Exactly. They're what they call their best life,
Right, their best life. So we do everything vicariously in a secondhand experience.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of engineered that way to keep your mind off of not only yourself, because once you start focusing on yourself, now I'm going to start creating my own reality. Now you're going to kind of start, quote unquote, bucking the system. And being that exception.
Yeah, anomaly, right?
Being that anomaly, the one, the neo in the system. You know, so to
the
speak.
shepherd, right?
Right, the shepherd, so to speak. So once you start focusing on that what we just gave you right there, if you're on a quest for the key, I just gave you a key right there, and I don't want to go too much into it, but rewind this over and over and over. Play this to your friends. We just gave you a nugget. So,
Did we?
we did. So that's one of the keys to this whole thing, to unlocking this whole thing. And it all starts with yourself.
And what do you want? You have to always ask the question, like, yeah, we can be living in the system that someone put for us, right? But what do we want? Like, we don't have to, like, watch the TV all the time or the programming or, like, that reality TV show. Just maybe just stop, go outside, look up, go
ground yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Figure out what makes you happy, friends.
Right.
Like, what makes your reality, and not what someone's telling you what your reality should be, right? Like pop culture, things like that.
Right. And one of the things, this is a great segue to one of the last segments, as far as creationism and being a creator. That's one of the keys to the whole thing is that, bringing your ideas and your visions into physical reality. And that's what all of us have the capability, no matter what religion. I don't like to get into religions, different religions. And because if you look at it, the base and the nucleus is all the same.
All the same.
Even if you dig enough, it's all the same. All of the prophets were talking about the same thing, which is going inside yourself and living up to your fullest potential.
Yeah.
Ask yourself right now. I want you to visualize. Again, I have a portion in every show. To close your eyes and visualize. Visualize. What would life be if I was going on my own accord? Visualize yourself working on your own building, working on your own enterprise, working on and having people, moving people according to what you see fit. How would that feel?
Yeah, moving that pieces on a chessboard.
Having people help you bring what you're thinking about and make it a reality. That's what you got to kind of focus on. You got to switch your mind frame into, if you're tired, that's if. Some people are content with where they are.
And that's
some people sleep.
And that's okay.
Right, that's fine as well. Okay. We have to, in order to have the creators, you have to have the non-creators as well.
It's like everyone's on, I guess.
Right, it has to be. The yin and the yang, it has to be. Yeah. So what we're speaking to those people that are frustrated.
Who are looking for a little bit more.
Right. And that are looking to own this life and not waiting till, I don't know, what are you waiting on? Most people, I don't know.
That's the whole thing.
Right.
That goes back to the beginning, right? The misconceptions, like, what are you looking for? The money, the fame, the stuff. But, like, you gotta find yourself.
Right.
That's what it is.
And this is the thing, family. And again, keep watching. If you find yourself, if you work on yourself, the money will always come.
The people in your lives will always come too.
Right, and the fame will, you'll be famous in your own right.
And
because the thing is, just like the earth, that gravity, that gravitational pull, the star. That's why they call them stars. That stars have dust and everything revolving around them. You're going to have that gravitational pull that pulls people in. But you got to work on yourself.
That gravity of love too.
Right.
Love everybody.
Right. And it's just the opposite. You have that fear or that hate that's going to repel people away from you.
And they'll always be repelled too.
Right.
Because they get jealous, they get the misconceptions, but all you can do is just love yourself, try to feel that ownership, the power of ownership.
Right.
If you know yourself, you know the universe.
Right.
If you know the universe, then you know what's upstairs.
Right. Well, you know that everything is you. So once you understand that, then your frame of mind will change. And you just have to visualize a difference. If you're out there listening, remember you are money. You are, what you want to be. The answers are right there under your nose. Again, one of my catchphrases that I say at the end of every show is God is a verb. And a lot of people don't understand that. And what I mean by that is that it's the action. It's the action. This body that we're in is like our scuba gear.
Yeah.
This is for us to survive. Scuba gear is for you to survive underwater. This body is for us to survive and live in the third density plane. We are not the body. The body is built to move and do things. And
then the part inside ourselves is what is actually being able for us to think, to create.
The mind.
Right.
So in order to use this body, which is God itself, we need to actually move this thing.
Teach it.
And teach it to actually bring things into fruition.
To be able to shape the reality. Oh, I want a new car, or I want to be happy, right? There's a good Buddhist quote that says, or a person asks a Buddhist monk, right? I want happiness, right? So the first thing he says, like, first you have to get rid of I, because I is ego.
Right, exactly.
Right? And then you have to get rid of want. Want is desire, right? And then all you have left is happiness.
Right.
Happiness to be who you are always meant to be.
Right. And that's why my nickname is B.
Uh-huh.
You kind of caught the pun.
I'm a B.
Yeah. B is that's kind of my name. Just be.
Yep.
Just be who you are and own who you are.
And never let anyone tell you anything different. 'Cause
Right.
they don't know. You can only worry about. That's where a lot of people get lost. Is like they're always worrying about what everyone else is thinking. Oh,
Right.
I have to think this way. Oh, I don't know if they're gonna like me.
Right.
Instead of just be who you are and never forget it either.
Right. The whole thing is we're almost defined, especially in American pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
We're defined by what everybody else is doing. Our whole meaning for existence is to actually look at stars and look at other people, look at the other people's lives. We kind of touched on this a little bit in the last show. Mm-hmm. You will never see nothing is coincidental or accidental. Everything is master planned and everything is done mathematically. Mm-hmm. If you want to bring things into fruition, if you're stuck in the mud, if you're stuck in a job that you don't like, the whole thing is you have to go within yourself and you have to start making pragmatic changes
and decisions. Yeah.
And decisions and actually acting upon it. That is God.
And owning it, right? The ownership.
Right. So that's the whole thing. There's no other way. People have been waiting for years and years for these prophets and these deities to come back and save you. That's why we're addicted to superhero movies. We have a superhero complex. Yeah. We want somebody to swoop down and save you. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Take your time and do things, maximize each day and work towards a goal, and you will see the fruits of your labor. It's a 3-part thing, and this is it's an equation. A lot of people want to just pray. Mm-hmm. It's not enough.
I know.
Everything's a 3-part, and this is in the book of Luke. It says, asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find,
and
knock, and the door will be open unto you. Let me say it one more time. It's a 3-part equation, family. Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be open unto you. All 3, not one of the other. And this is, let me break down this, and I'll let you go after this. The thing is that asking, that's your prayer, that's your meditation.
And it's, excuse me, sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So asking, that's your meditation. Seek, that's your research. That's your planning, your pragmatism. Knock, that's your action. Get your butt up and do it. That's plain. That's just what it is. Plain and simple. So it's 3-part equation, family. If you do that, I guarantee you success. Guarantee you. Period. That's just what it is. Point blank and period. So we're going to take an intermission right now, and we'll be back after these messages.